When in Da Nang, one almost has to visit the ancient city of Hue, where Vietnam as we know it first came to being. It is also a culture capital, as well as an important battle site during the Vietnam War. Therefore, of course, the Pratts hopped on our scooters, took the famous Hai Van Pass, featured in Top Gear, and made the 3-hour-plus trip north. Civilization in Hue dates back to the 4th century, but at that time, the northern part of Vietnam was a subsidiary of China. Not until the 18th century was the entire Vietnam united under the rule of the Nguyen dynasty. The Nguyen family has made Hue its stronghold ever since the 16th century. Therefore, it naturally became the capital after the unification. Due to the royal presence, performing arts and culinary arts flourished here. We got to visit the Purple Forbidden City Palace that was heavily influenced by the Chinese court culture and architecture. Newer buildings also showed French influences. Overall, though, we felt for such a historical site, the place was quite run down and not well restored and maintained. This is in part due to the recent history of Vietnam War, the scars of which are still plainly in sight on the palace walls. Despite being on the Allied side during World War II, the Vietnamese were denied independence by the French, which drove Ho Chi Minh to the Soviet Union and communism. Americans' false assumption of the domino effect of communism led to our establishment of a corrupt but Western-friendly government in south of Vietnam. The North Vietnamese Army, aka NVA, organized a well-coordinated attack called the Tet Offensive on 1968. It targeted over 100 cities in South Vietnam, simultaneously on Tet holiday, when most soldiers are away, Hue being one of them. The Americans were caught off guard, and NVA captured most of the city in a flash. But remaining American forces, resupplied by air, continued a bloody and brutal house-to-house fight. The NVA troops used the Forbidden Palace for protection and as a vantage point. The bullet holes are still there to be seen. Despite eventual victory, Americans suffered high casualties, which shocked the reporters who came to visit the aftermath. They realized that the war wasn't going as easily as the American government had been telling the people. The most influential reporter, Walter Cronkite, said,
"For it seems now more certain than ever that the bloody experience of Vietnam is to end in a stalemate. But it is increasingly clear to this reporter that the only rational way out then will be to negotiate, not as victors, but as an honorable people who lived up to their pledge to defend democracy and did the best they could."
This ended up being the turning point of the war, as American outrage eventually led to the withdrawal of forces from Vietnam. On the way to and back from Hue, we traveled on the Hai Van Pass. The Hai Van Pass is a twisting and turning road over a mountain right by the ocean. The top of the mountain is often in the clouds, which leads to high rainfall and many beautiful waterfalls. Below the clouds, the brown and blue ocean is quite a sight to be seen. Just when we were enjoying the scenery, disaster struck. On the way back while going uphill on a turn, my dad's scooter, with my brother on the back, hit gravel. The front tires skidded out and they crashed into the side ditch. Luckily, they were not badly harmed, only scrapes and bruises. But we were all quite shaken. My mother rode down the mountain and met a loving family who helped us call a taxi and stored the broken bike until we could go back and get it. We paid relatively little to learn some valuable lessons. 1. Go slower on turns and look out for sand and gravel. 2. Wear protective gear. We saw many other people in t-shirts, shorts, and flip-flops, and sometimes wearing no helmets. We were wearing boots, helmets, jackets, and long pants. Had it not been for the protective gear, our road rash could have been much worse. 3. Ask the locals. Turns out the Haivan Pass is accident prone, and the locals avoid it like the plague. They put their scooters on a bus and then go through the mountain via tunnel. Our Hue trip was a mixture of emotions for us. We were mesmerized by the natural beauty of Vietnam, but horrified by the war history. We were amazed that Vietnamese people have put the bloody Vietnam War behind them and are welcoming and helpful to anyone. We were a little scarred by our accident, but came out stronger as a family as we realized how much we meant to each other.